Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar. It's the first of our series, Deeper Dive with Buffalo Bayou Partnership. My name is Jessica McFall, and I'm the Communication and Membership Coordinator for Buffalo Bayou Partnership. Today, we are kicking off this series with Buffalo Bayou President Anne Olson. She will be talking about past projects that our nonprofit has completed, current initiatives, and upcoming plans we have for the future of Buffalo Bayou. Anne has been with the organization since 1986, so for over 25 years, she has spearheaded and overseen all the projects that you're going to see today. So she's a great resource. If you have any questions, please ask them in the chat box, and we will answer as many questions as we can after the conclusion of the presentation. So without further ado, here is Anne.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. We're going to get our screen up in just a second, so bear with us. There we go. So I'm not sure how many of you know anything about Buffalo Bayou Partnership, but we were founded in 1986, and we were actually founded under another organization called Central Houston. And the organization was founded by the mayor at that time, Kathy Whitmire, and Judge John Lindsay. And our board members still to this day are appointed or approved by the mayor and the county judge. And over the last 25 or 30 years, the organization has raised over $200 million for the Bayou's revitalization. The area that we oversee is about a 10-mile stretch from Shepherd Drive on the west all the way to the Port of Houston turning basin. And we like to say that we work in 3 different sectors, the west, downtown, and east sector. And each sector is very, very different in terms of its landscape. And I think you'll see that as we go through the presentation. So now we're going to take you on a walk of all of our capital projects, starting in the west sector. And of course, Buffalo Bayou Park is our most notable and recent project. It was made possible by a $30 million catalyst gift from the Kinder Foundation. And then our organization went out and raised additional funds, and then the Harris County Flood Control District put in $5 million. So all told, it was a $58 million project. After we completed the park, there were other developments that the city made. For instance, Allen Parkway. That was a $10 million project to realign the parkway and to put in all the parking along Allen Parkway. I want to recognize the Houston Parks and Recreation Department. They are our close partners on many projects, but they actually own Buffalo Bayou Park. Buffalo Bayou Partnership does not own that green space. The backbone of Buffalo Bayou Park is really a trail system. We have 2 trails, a multi-use concrete 10-foot wide trail and a 5-foot asphalt footpath. And what makes the footpath so special is they're a great way for people to get out and experience the waterway close up. As all of you know, the park really suffered during Hurricane Harvey, and these next few slides show you how much sediment was in the park. We removed, believe it or not, 60 million pounds of sediment. And these shots, again, will show you the before and after. This is a shot of the Lost Lake Visitor Center, and you can see just how high the water got. But you also can see how well the park responded. Another photo. In some cases, the sediment was almost 6 or 7 feet high, which is pretty incredible. So at the far eastern edge of the park, we have the waterworks. That's the main entry to the park. And the visitor center is not only a place to go to pick up information, but we have bike rental there. So if you need a bike, we also have the B-Cycle station down at this end of the park. Of course, one of the most unique sites in the park or in all of Houston is the underground Buffalo Bayou Park cistern. This is an abandoned City of Houston water reservoir, and it is large as a football field and a half. It's just an incredible, magical space. We give regular history talks and walks, and if you go online, you can register for those. And then every other year, we have major art installations. Excuse me. This is the most recent installation we had, and it was one that was done by the late Carlos Cruz Diaz, a very famous Venezuelan artist. Also at the eastern edge of the park is the Barbara Fish Daniel Nature Play Area, a very beautiful space to take your kids. No plastic swing sets, just a lot of sand, rocks, and logs on which they can climb. Johnny Steele Park, Johnny Steele Dog Park, again, probably one of the most popular areas in the park. Named after a very beloved landscape architect here in Houston, Johnny Steele. At the far western edge of the park, we have the Lost Lake Visitor Center. Again, a really beautiful spot for you to visit. And I'm sure most of you have been to the Dunleavy, the kitchen at the Dunleavy. They not only have breakfast and lunch, but they rent out the space in the evenings for events. Right now, due to COVID, they have a pop-up facility there called Daddy's Burgers. So it's a totally different menu, so we urge you to stop by. This is probably one of the most iconic bridges that we have in the park, the Rosemont Bridge at the corner of Allen Parkway and Studemont. If you want a beautiful picture of the downtown skyline, this is the place to go. There are about 3 or 4 other pedestrian bridges in the park, and this allows people to do shorter loops on their regular runs and bikes. Before we built the park or renovated the park, you would have to get on in downtown and walk or jog all the way to Shepherd Drive, quite a long trek. SWA, the landscape architects who designed the park, really wanted the park to have different rooms, we'd like to call them rooms, and have different landscape typologies. So throughout the park, you'll see several perennial gardens. This happens to be the Jane Gregory Garden. You'll also see wildflower and prairie areas, and then woodlands. And this is a photo of the beautiful large pine trees along Memorial Drive. Of course, during the COVID virus time that we're having, we've made a real attempt to tell park users that they have to social distance. The park has been extremely popular, extremely popular. The trails have been very busy. But like I say, we've really made an attempt to have people social distance. We have noticed now that the weather is warmer, there are fewer people using the park. But I think what COVID has showed us all is how important Buffalo Bayou Park and all the green spaces in Houston are to our community. The park is very well known, just not in Houston, but nationally. We have won over, I think it's 12 national, international urban design, architecture, and landscape architecture awards. So we're very, very proud of the park. Now into the downtown sector. This is Sabine Promenade. This green space was completed in 2001 and extends from Sabine Street all the way to Bagby Street. Sesquicentennial Park. This was the first project Buffalo Bayou Partnership completed in collaboration with Central Houston. We did it in 2 phases. And the second phase was completed in 1998. This is a photo the night we opened the park. We had several thousand people down there. You'll see the 7 wonders, the very tall stainless steel pillars. They were designed by a very well-known artist, Mel Chin, and he is actually a native of Houston. He grew up in the 5th Ward. And here we are at Allen's Landing. I'm always surprised so many people don't realize that this is the site where the Allen brothers stepped ashore and founded Houston. And it also served as Houston's port before the port moved farther east, all the way to the port as it enters the ship channel. So our organization has worked for many, many years to restore this site. We rehabilitated the decaying wharf. We took out a large parking lot and replaced it with a sloping grass lawn. And then our most recent project at this site is what is now the beautiful Sunset Coffee Building. I can tell you, and you probably remember, those of you who have lived in Houston a while, it was not a beautiful building like this. We had a lot of homeless living in it. We had no electricity, no plumbing. And we came in and spent about $7 million restoring the building. That's where we're having our webinar today. Our offices are here. But we also have beautiful rental space. So you can rent out the building for a wedding, a party, or we have lots of meetings here as well. So we have a large space downstairs, we have a plaza, and then we have this beautiful rooftop terrace overlooking the bayou. You can go to our website, buffalobayou.org, to rent the facility. This is our most recent trail project completed in 2016. It's a most unusual trail in that it goes under 4 major city streets in downtown. And then as you can see, it's cantilevered out over the bayou. This is one of my favorite trails. And now looking towards the future, here we are at Allen's Landing, and this is where the trail that starts out at Buffalo Bayou Park ends. So we're really excited that probably by mid-August or early September, we'll be breaking ground on this project. It's a cooperative project that we're doing with the Houston Parks Board. And again, a very, very unique trail. We love to take existing infrastructure and not do away with it, but really incorporate it and celebrate it in all of our projects. So this trail, believe it or not, is going to actually go through the bottom of 2 Harris County buildings. So we expect to complete this. I believe the construction timeline is about a year. And now we're moving into the east sector, and we define the east sector from US 6959 all the way to the Port of Houston. It's about 4 miles in length. This stretch of the bayou is very, very different than what you see in downtown and in Buffalo Bayou Park. The bayou's a lot wider, it's a lot deeper. We don't have the flooding problems that we have to the west. So over the last 2 years, we've been involved in a very, very comprehensive master planning effort. So much of our work has been in downtown and west of downtown, and now it was time to really look east. What many people don't know, however, is that over the last 15 years or so, we've been quietly purchasing property in this part of town, as well as building hike and bike trails. So over this 2 years, we had a very, very robust community engagement effort. We reached, I believe, 700 community residents and stakeholders. We had numerous community meetings. We had small focus groups. We relied a lot on social media to get the word out. So we really feel we've done a very, very good job of getting significant community input. We have 4 major themes that are guiding this master plan. First, authenticity. We want the parks and trails to reflect the cultural and the industrial legacy of this part of town. Next, connectivity. As an organization, we've done a lot of trail building east to west, but we have not done a lot north to south to bring the Fifth Ward and the greater East End to the Bayou. So that is a major priority of ours, to build bikeways and what we call green fingers leading into the neighborhoods. A third goal, to have this project be inclusive. We want whatever we do not to leave current residents and businesses behind. This area is undergoing significant gentrification, and we really want to do what's best for the current residents, although we realize the area is changing, and we really feel it can be a place where people of all walks of life come together. And finally, resiliency. And I think most people, when they think of resiliency, especially in Houston, they think of flooding and other environmental issues. But in the plan, in our plan, it really focuses on resiliency from an economic and social perspective as well. So now we're just going to take you through a few of the major destinations that we're planning. And we've divided the segment up into 4 major areas. The downtown gateway, the central hub, the industrial district, and finally, farthest to the east, the eastern terminus. This is the downtown gateway, very close to downtown. And this will serve as the entryway into Buffalo Bayou East. We're very dependent upon another project for this. It's called the North Houston Highway Improvement Project. And groups in downtown plan to build an elevated park that will actually lead north into Buffalo Bayou and will extend north along that already restored pedestrian bridge. As part of this project, TxDOT is required to do 30 acres of detention. And we are working closely with them to make sure the detention is wet bottom detention, because we feel we can build wetlands and lay the bayou banks back and really have this a beautiful spot. The central hub is very much focused on an existing park called Tony Marone Park. I don't know how many people are familiar with that park. It's along North York Street, right off Navigation Boulevard. Right now, the park is 19 acres, but we plan to expand the park with property that we own and property the Parks Department owns. And it will go from being 19 acres to almost 40 acres. So this is going to be a major green space in this part of town. And I think it's going to end up having a little bit of something for everyone. There are already soccer fields there, so we plan to leave those in place, but we want to have places where people can get out in nature, but also a location where people can go for events. We'll have food trucks. We also will have probably canoe and kayak rental as well. These are some of my most favorite sites in the industrial district. We're fortunate that we own several really unique former industrial sites. The first one being, we're the proud owners of an abandoned City of Houston sewage treatment facility. But we love this site. We plan to keep all the infrastructure and convert these basins into wetlands, places that we can take kids for environmental education activities. So again, a very, very unique 22-acre site. Again, one of my favorite sites. This is a site called Turkey Bend. It used to be called General Stevedores, and it was a barge terminal. And what is found on the property is a massive wooden wharf with these incredible gantries. And then in the background, we have some open air pavilions, and we'll be using those for events, food trucks, and that kind of thing. Right now, the Rice Crew team and the Texas Dragon Boat Group are planning to relocate their boating hub to this site. And finally, the eastern terminus. And we've already built this existing park, Yolanda Black Navarro Buffalo Bend Nature Park, in collaboration with Harris County Precinct 2. We have a plan under place right now as part of the master plan to connect Buffalo Bend Nature Park to the existing City of Houston Hidalgo Park. And we're working very, very closely with our partners, Harris County Precinct 2 and the Houston Parks and Recreation Department. Again, connectivity is a major focus of the plan. We plan to improve and to expand the waterfront trails, but we hope to work with the public sector on a system of bikeways that will lead north and south into the greater East End and Fifth Ward. In addition to all the capital projects that we do, we have other initiatives and many other programs that we're going to tell you a little bit about. An extremely important project for us is our Clean and Green program. This is almost a $500,000 a year initiative that is funded jointly by the Harris County Flood Control District and the Port of Houston. We employ 5 guys. All they do every week, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. They drive up and down the bayou in specially designed boats, picking up trash and debris. And we're very, very proud of this cleanup initiative. We have our own pontoon boat, and I'm sure many of you have taken a boat tour or two. It's a great way to see Houston from a totally different perspective. We have history tours. We have a special tour called Port to Port. We have something called foodie floats. And probably our most popular tour is our bat tour, where we go up to the Waugh Drive Bridge and see the bats emerge at dusk. In recent years, we've started a series of walking tours. We have monthly nature tours that are headed by a local naturalist. We have public art tours and wellness walks. Again, very, very popular, and you just need to go to our website and sign up. And I should mention that they're all free. We work very closely with a company called Bayou City Adventures, and they used to be headquartered at the Lost Lake Visitor Center, but now they're stationed at Sabine Promenade. They have a tent, they have all the boats out. It's very, very easy to just walk up, and then you can also reserve a space by going to their website. Again, in probably just over the last year or two, we've started yoga sessions and just recently Tai Chi. But of course, all of these are on hold due to COVID. But hopefully by the end of the year, we hope to start them up again. We're very proud that we put on Texas's largest canoe and kayak race called the Buffalo Bayou Regatta. We hold it in March every year, and this year it will be on March 6th. Last year we had over 500 boats, and it's a 15-mile race that starts out far in West Houston and ends down here at Allen's Landing, a very popular event that many consider to be a rite of spring in Houston. Our young professionals group, the Currents, puts on Buffalo Bayou in Bloom in the spring each year. It's a major fundraising for them. Lots of fun. They always have about several hundred people there. They have an auction. It's just a great evening to get out and enjoy the spring weather. In October every year, we put on KBR Kids Day. We've been hosting this event for, I think, over 10 years. We used to hold it in Buffalo Bayou Park, and a few years ago, we've moved it to Guadalupe Plaza Park in the East End. We usually have about 5,000 children and their families turn out for this event. We have environmental education activities. As you can see, we have plenty of dancing, music. It's just a wonderful way to spend a nice October afternoon with your children. And finally, in November every year, we put on the Buffalo Bayou Gala. And this sometimes is held on the Sabine Street Bridge, and then other years we hold it at Buffalo Bayou Park up on the Brown Foundation lawn. But this is a very important fundraising for our organization, because it really helps us keep the lights on and pay our salaries. And if you haven't been to it, it's a really wonderful outdoor event. It's not black tie, you don't have to dress up, it's very casual. And many people tell us it's one of their most favorite galas in Houston. Now, there are many ways you guys can get involved in Buffalo Bayou. We hope you can volunteer. We really rely on volunteers to supplement the work of our maintenance team in Buffalo Bayou Park. You can come down on your own. You can be part of a corporate group, church group, Boy Scout group. We do a lot of weeding. We always need weeders. We do a lot of tree planting, you name it, we do it, but we really, really rely on volunteers. We urge you to become a member. We just recently started our own membership program. You can go to our website. We have different levels of membership. I already mentioned the Currents, but that is a membership group. And they also do a lot of environmental education activity or volunteer activities, and they love to party too. So if you're a partier, this is the group for you. So please stay connected with us. We urge you to get involved. You can go to our website, buffalobayou.org, to find out more about the organization, our programs and initiatives. And then, you know, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jessica, and hopefully we have some questions that I can answer. So thank you.
Thanks, Anne. Do you want to stop sharing your screen? Yeah. So you had a very thorough presentation. We had one question. So if anybody else has questions, feel free to type them in right now and we'll cover those. So they asked, has there been any consideration on developing restaurants and other commercial spaces along the bayou similar to the Riverwalk in San Antonio, or is this unfeasible given the issues with flooding?
That is a great question. It's a question that comes up all the time. And unfortunately, Buffalo Bayou is never going to be the San Antonio Riverwalk. We think it's going to be, it's much better. But the reason being, we do have this flooding issue. And we like to say that we're developing promontory development. So we have the Sunset Coffee Building, for instance, that has the rental space. Eventually, we hope to have canoe and kayak rental here, as well as bike rental. We have the Dunleavy. So we have to be very, very sensitive to the fact that the bayou floods. East of downtown, as I mentioned previously, the bayou doesn't have the flooding problem that we have up here. And the banks are a lot steeper. So we do plan to have facilities that will have food service, as well as the bike and boat rental that I already mentioned.
Okay, we got quite a few more questions here now. Is the cistern open now?
Right now, the cistern is not. We opened it up and we were allowing 10 people to enter at any given time. And then with the new surge in COVID, we have ceased the tours for the time being. Again, we're trying to be really, really sensitive to everything that's going on with COVID. So for the foreseeable future, we are not having the tours and we are not having our pontoon boat tours.
Someone asked if there are any plans to expand into White Oak Bayou.
Buffalo Bayou Partnership is an organization that is focused solely on Houston's most historic waterway, Buffalo Bayou. The Houston Parks Board has a program called Bayou Greenways, and they have been developing hike and bike trails along the other bayous, including White Oak Bayou. So if you want to learn more about trail development along the bayous, you should go to their website.
Are there any other ways to get involved if you cannot physically participate in volunteer activities?
Let's see. That's a great question. Well, if you can't get out and actually volunteer outside, we always have opportunities for you to volunteer here at our office. We need volunteers at all of our events. So those are other ways that you, I think, can get involved.
What are the plans for repairing the portion of the Tiger Trail that collapsed?
Another great question. These are all great questions. Unfortunately, right after Harvey, there was a water main leak along that stretch of the trail. And it is the responsibility of the city, and they are receiving FEMA money to repair the trail. And as you can expect, FEMA funding is quite a lengthy process. And so that's what's going on with the trail, but it can't be repaired soon enough.
Will cyclists be able to bike from the Port of Houston to Shepherd and back? And if so, what will the length of the loop be?
As I mentioned, from Shepherd Drive to the Port of Houston Turning Basin, it's about 10 miles. Right now, with only 2 missing links on the south side of the bayou, you can get from Shepherd Drive all the way to Lockwood Drive. East of Lockwood Drive, the bayou becomes, and the land becomes much more industrial, and it's much more difficult to get trails through there. But on the north side, we do see some connections. I think eventually we'll have to have bikeways on the street. I should mention, unlike Buffalo Bayou Park, that is totally owned by the City of Houston Parks Department, east of downtown, Buffalo Bayou has many different private property owners. And how we actually got into the land acquisition business is that we started out to secure easements for the hike and bike trails. And property owners were reluctant to sell or give us an easement. And so they required us to go in and buy their entire parcels. And still private properties owners are out there, some that do not live in Houston. So it's been a quite challenging process. And along Buffalo Bayou Park and in downtown, all that property again is publicly owned.
I've noticed that the dog park frequently floods. Are there any plans to make any changes to the Johnny Steele Dog Park?
After Harvey, we actually made changes. We made some major changes. And I should add though, before I get into the changes, people ask us sometimes, you know, why is the dog park there? It's in a very, very low lying spot. Before we renovated the park, this site was an unofficial City of Houston dog park. Unofficial in that it didn't have a fence around it. That's one of the requirements of the city. So we didn't want to take away this beloved space from dog owners. So what we did do after Harvey, we took a long look at the site. We took out the large dog pond. So right now we only have a small dog pond. And by taking that out, it's really reduced the amount of maintenance we do. After the heavy rain, sometimes the park would be closed for up to 3 or 4 weeks or more. And now we're able to go in and maintain the site and get it up and running in less than 2 weeks.
How much of your budget is funded by rentals, the Dunleavy, et cetera?
Great question. And I believe I failed to mention this. So Buffalo Bayou Partnership operates and maintains Buffalo Bayou Park. We have about 30 employees. They are the ones that are picking up the trash, mowing the grass. They also operate the 2 visitor centers. And we're lucky enough that we receive $2.4 million a year from the Downtown Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone. The concession revenue that we get, and we define that as the funds that we get from the rentals at the Dunleavy, the rentals from Bike Barn, our food trucks, all that funding goes into what we call a capital expenditure fund. and we cannot touch that to pay salaries. What that is there for is in case a next hurricane or flood a storm comes by and say rips off one of the roofs on the visitor center, we will have the funds to repair the damage.
Does BBP expect to develop both sides of the bayou on the east side of downtown?
Yes. Some of the sites that I showed, well, most of the sites I probably showed are on the south side. A project that we're just getting started right now is a green finger along Japhet Creek, a beautiful historic tributary that leads up into the 5th Ward, just east of North York Street. And then many of you probably are familiar with Midway's East River project. That's 146 development that will be built, and that takes up a large amount of the area on the north side of the bayou. I did show the north side sewage treatment facility. That is on the north side of the bayou, right at the corner of Lockwood Drive and the bayou.
Could you share more about the membership levels, how many levels and benefits and associated costs?
Oh my gosh, that's a hard one. You know
Well,
what?
you can find all that on buffalobayou.org. If you go to buffalobayou.org, we have a Get Involved tab, and all the levels are there. There's, I believe, 5 different levels at different price points and, of course, benefits. So that's where you can find that information.
And the reason Jessica knows that is because she's our membership coordinator.
Is there any timeline on repairing the path under downtown? Yes, we answered this.
Yes, we answered that.
Does the park maintenance fall on the city or BBP?
Yes, as I just mentioned, the maintenance in Buffalo Bayou Park is the responsibility of Buffalo Bayou Partnership, and we receive the funding every year from the Downtown Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone. We also do the maintenance between Sabine Street and Allen's Landing, and we receive funding from Houston First, which is a local government corporation. They're the entity that oversees the convention center and the theater district in downtown. The new trail that we're building, the downtown trail that we're about to break ground on, we will be maintaining that through a contract that we will have with the Houston Parks Board's Bayou Greenways program.
What is the overall timeline for building / rebuilding the trails east of downtown?
The Buffalo Bayou East project is a multi-decade project. It is a 20, 25, 30-year initiative of ours. But we're happy to report that just recently we have received some very generous gifts that are allowing us to kickstart the project. So you'll be seeing more information about ways that you can engage with us to give us your input on sites like Tony Marone Park, Japhet Creek, and Turkey Bend.
Are you going further west to connect to Memorial Park?
Great question. Buffalo Bayou Partnership's jurisdiction, as I've mentioned before, it's from Shepherd Drive going east. The organization does not go farther west than Shepherd Drive, but people would love to see a connection at some point in the future. We certainly would.
What's the easiest way to stay up to date with current and future projects by BBP?
Again, to go to our website. Jessica does a great job with our social media and keeping people informed. I believe we have almost 35,000 Instagram followers. We'll be doing more and more social media to get the word out. Of course, right now we can't have in-person community meetings, but we're going to try to be visionary and creative and think of ways to involve people, because just because the plan has been published, we want to continue involving people as we design these green spaces, parks, and trails.
And you can also sign up for our e-newsletter, which is the sign-ups at the bottom of our site and as well as the top. So you should be able to find it on buffalobayou.org. Are there any plans for the maps along Buffalo Bayou walking trails to include mileage and distances around the loops?
No, but that's a great idea. And that's something I think we need to consider, definitely.
What are the best ways for schools and students to work with you all?
Again, volunteering. We have lots of school groups that work with us, both in Buffalo Bayou Park. Yolanda Black Navarro, Buffalo Bend Nature Park is a great site where we've hosted school students. There have been students that have gone out there and actually done water testing because the park has 3 wetland ponds. We were recently approached by someone from HISD who's in charge of the feeder pattern to Wheatley High School in the 5th Ward, and we're really excited about possibly partnering with them.
Will there be new pedestrian bridges in the eastern section?
Yes, the plan definitely calls for several major pedestrian bridges in Buffalo Bayou East.
Someone asked if this presentation will be available later, and yes, we are recording it, and we will be sending it out to all registrants probably tomorrow or early next week. How, if at all, are future plans being impacted by COVID in terms of scheduling / social engagement considerations?
Well, like I said, they have been affected in that we've curtailed our cistern tours, our pontoon boat tours. But of course, the park is still open. Buffalo Bayou Park is still open. We have really tried to adhere to Mayor Turner and Judge Lena Hidalgo's guidelines. So for a while, on the weekends, the parking lots were actually closed to, believe it or not, cut down on the number of visitors because the park was just being overrun and it wasn't really safe from a health perspective. The play area is still closed because of the mayor and the judge's guidelines. And like I said, the community engagement will continue, but we're going to have to do more things like we're doing today.
Do you own the silos in the east, and what are the plans for those?
Yes, we own 4 massive former gravel silos just east of Jensen Drive. And really, we don't plan to do anything with those. We love the fact that they're just very authentic to the area. We will be improving the green space around those sites, however.
Any plans to add dog cleanup stations to the park?
Well, we do have doggy bag stations in various locations of the park, and we've actually added more during this time of COVID just because we have had such heavy usage in the park. And of course, they will be staying there, but we can always use more, I'm sure.
Someone asked about the timeline for repairing / improving the trail from Allen's Landing to Tony Marone Park.
Well, that's a huge segment. And as mentioned before, we're starting out here in Allen's Landing, breaking ground by early September. Then there's a stretch owned by Centerpoint that we're working on. And I don't believe I mentioned the Clayton Homes Trail. Clayton Homes is a Houston Housing Authority property just east of McKee Street over in the East End. And that trail right now is open. And it's a really cool trail in that along with TxDOT, we renovated a old railroad bridge. And so that will take you from the north side to the south side and farther east. I think they may be talking about 2 missing links that are just west of North York Street near Tony Marone Park. And these are the 2 properties that I referred to earlier where the owners live out of town and we're having a rather challenging time getting the easements on those 2 properties.
How have our plans for the future changed because of COVID?
I can't believe all these great questions. You know, I've been participating in a lot of webinars and have been talking to a lot of landscape architects and designers. And I do think COVID will change the way parks are designed. So many parks in the past have been designed to host major events and attract, you know, thousands of people. I think we're going to really have to look at that in the future. I think parks are also going to be designed much more naturally. I know that's something that we're looking at in Buffalo Bayou East, just from a health perspective. So I think there will be changes that you'll be seeing. And again, we'd like to get the public's input as we move east with our projects.
Plans for kayak and canoe launches. There are already some existing ones, and I know the one behind the Dunleavy kind of fell through, but.
Right. Harris County Flood Control is out in the park right now doing improvements to the erosion. There will be several launching sites in Buffalo Bayou East. Right now, we actually have one that the Rice Crew team uses, but we're hoping that our Turkey Bend site, that was the visual that had the very, very large wooden wharf. We hope that will become the boating hub of the bayou. The Rice Crew team will be moving there, the Texas Dragon Boat Group, and we want to have canoe and kayak rental.
How is the rebuilding going of the trails on the west side? And I'm guessing this is in regards to the Harris County flood control work.
Yes, as I mentioned, flood control is out there doing almost $10 million worth of work. And as they repair the erosion on the banks, they are replacing the footpath.
Someone asked why there are not more dog water fountains throughout the walking trails. So this could be a great suggestion for the future.
These are great suggestions that we're going to pass on to our park director. And the drinking fountains, again, have been shut off due to COVID, just for safety reasons. And our restrooms also are closed due to safety reasons. We have had a limited park crew for much of COVID, just trying to protect our staff as well.
We'll take just a few more questions, but this is a really good one. The trash that unfortunately ends up accumulating in Buffalo Bayou, is this mostly from upstream tributaries that aggregate the trash around downtown, or from littering that happens in the downtown area? What can we do to help reduce the trash in the park?
So many people think they come down, say to Allen's Landing or to Sesquicentennial Park and drop a styrofoam cup in the bayou, and that's what's contributing to our trash problem. No, all the trash is coming in through the storm outfalls in Houston. So as trash accumulates, say in Woodland Park, in Woodland Heights along Little White Oak Bayou, and that is a spot that has lots of trash. All that flows down to Buffalo Bayou and eventually flows all the way to the Houston Ship Channel. We have our Clean and Green program, which is a major initiative of ours. We have a very, very active maintenance committee right now that is very much focused on reducing the amount of plastic, because we find that plastic water bottles and other plastic bags, but also styrofoam cups, those are the kinds of materials that do end up in the bayou.
Will the launch across from Tony Marone Park be made available to the public? The gate is often locked and closed. Yes,
right now that is a private site that we own. Once we do develop the park, it will be a public launch site.
Last question, would it be helpful to open a lane of Allen Parkway to bikes and pedestrians only to support social distancing and take some pressure off the trails?
Yes, there were many people that wanted to do that back in March and April, and I believe people would still love to do that. We're very supportive of doing that. However, up until this time, you know, it's a city street, And the city really is the entity that will be responsible for doing that. But that type of thing is being done throughout the country.
And those are all the questions we have. Those are some really great questions. Thanks for holding in with us at the first of the webinar when we had some technical difficulties. We're just starting out and learning this, so we're all in this together. And be sure to tune in next week. We're going to deeper dive about the Buffalo Bayou East Master Plan with our project manager, Jose Solis. So a lot of your questions were geared towards that section, and so we'll go in even deeper and you can learn more about what's going on over there.
Thank you so much, everybody. We enjoyed it.
Thank you.